So it felt unthinkable a few months ago, I would say, but Jorge Martin has had his first proper weekend with Aprilia. We do not count that Qatar monstrosity. And the part that felt unthinkable isn't that this weekend would happen, isn't that something contractually he would be forced to do it. The part that felt unthinkable to me, it was so happy. It was outrageously happy. Even once we learned that Jorge Martin would be staying for 2026, I could not allow myself to think that things would just be repaired immediately. And honestly, recency bias, they kind of are. They feel repaired, so much more repaired than I expected.
I'm not surprised at all, because it's the only possible thing he could do. He had to be happy this weekend. He had to love riding the bike. He had to do all the things that he could do to repair the bridges that have been burned over the last 3 months since mid-May with the team. He had to essentially love being an Aprilia rider again. That was the solution. That was the easy way out of the conundrum of the situation that he's created, because that's what Aprilia have done all along, right? They've never stopped kind of emphasizing how much they loved him and how much they wanted him to be a part of his team. And with the damage he's done to his reputation over the last few months, I think if he'd done anything other than look the way that he did look this weekend, even if it is all an act, which I don't think it is, then he would have just made himself look like even more of an idiot. He said, in the press conference on Thursday to open the weekend, I am not an idiot. Well, I think he proved that this weekend with the way that he's handled this situation, with how openly he's spoken, with how straightforward he's kind of seemed to have been with the team, and with how much emotion and how much joy he took out of both riding the bike and from delivering good results in the bike. He put a lot of effort into this weekend to be strong, when it would have been easy to ease back into it, cruise around, finish P20 and say, well, I've rode the bike now, we'll think about results after the summer break. And he didn't. He came out of this weekend talking to us post-race in the media debrief, saying, yeah, you know what, there's races this year I'm now looking at and thinking, podium, potential win. Because it's been a really strong, happy, confident weekend for him on his Aprilia debut, I guess.
Yeah, it's a true story. When I walked into the Aprilia hospitality here at Brno, somebody told me, you're the guy who said we're not going to win the championship in 2026, and use that to justify Jorge Martin's logic. In tongue-in-cheek and jest, no confrontation about it, but it is a topic where I have to acknowledge that, again, it's not just that Jorge Martin was happy this weekend. The vibes for the manufacturer that isn't the strongest this weekend are immaculate. They are incredible. It's not just Martin, it's the fact that Marco Bezzecchi was as quick as he was again this time and has had a fantastic run of form. It's the fact that Raul Fernandez is much quicker suddenly than he's looked at any point in his MotoGP career, more complete than he's looked at any point.
I wouldn't say faster, but he's finally put it all together this weekend.
Yeah. The bike works, it's starting to work for a lot of people. Ayagura has taken a step back, but there is confidence that, he just needs a bit more time and he's just having the regular rookie situation. But for me, the most important thing is, we say a happy rider is a fast rider, I guess, but also a fast rider is a happy rider. It's a vicious circle, it goes both ways. And Jorge Martin was immediately fast. He was immediately fast on the bike. The way he wasn't in Qatar, the way, you could talk about pre-season, off-season testing, etc. But this is a true competitive environment, and his performance surpassed my expectations. It surpassed his expectations. I imagine it surpassed Aprilia's expectations. And when you have that on track, we spend so much time off the track talking about it, deliberating on it, changing our opinion, and then the session is what will count the most, always. And it will immediately have the power, the magic power of the timesheet, to just immediately change the paradigm, to immediately change the vibe. And that, for me, has happened.
And it's happened for me in a way that I didn't quite expect either, because when we saw, I think this weekend was perfect for him, because we saw a wet opening day, which is perfect. It might not sound it because it's more risky conditions, but it's immediate pressure off. No one really cares what you do in the rain, and everyone's riding in a slightly different way. Martin was able to string together a good wet Friday. I think all things considered, and considering he has no rain experience in this bike, he delivered a good result. Then we went into a qualifying session the next day where no one had dry track time. And you know what, Mr. Qualifying delivered another good result. He was strong again, because that's kind of what you expect from him. And then a good result essentially set up a really good race. Once he had that strong qualifying position, that he delivered from it in a very kind of low-key. There was no highlights to the weekend, except the whole weekend was a highlight way that just was perfect. Minimum of pressure, maximum achievement in terms of results. Super strong weekend, has learned a little bit about himself physically and what needs to be worked on over the summer break, has learned a lot about the bike, which has made huge step forward since the last time he rode it, something he was really upfront and open about. All in all, absolutely perfect. I think a super strong weekend, exactly the weekend he needed, exactly the weekend Aprilia needed. I mean, what's more to say? It was a win. It was a weekend that almost celebrated the decision to stay.
Yeah, I mean, I did not have high expectations. Even if everything was harmonious, I wouldn't have had super high expectations for the rest of his season and for the rest of Aprilia's season, even though the bike is pretty good, even though Jorge Martin is obviously good. I may have to recalibrate that now because this kind of first step seems ripe for building upon. For me, the more important thing is I think there are a lot of people naturally skeptic, and correctly so. You know, it was an ugly episode with, you know, if Jorge Martin got his wish a few months ago, he would have a Honda deal for 2026. Now he would be away from Aprilia, which means it is factually correct to say he has been kept against his will at that moment in time. Yeah. And then that's accurate, isn't it?
The reality.
And the thing is that if this was an extension of that situation, there would be never even any thought, no lip service paid to the idea of this relationship continuing to greater heights beyond the fulfillment of pure contractual obligations in 2026. Now, there is no confidence, no certainty, no anything over whether Aprilia will keep Jorge Martin longer term, how its chances are, but not only has it bought itself time, but it's bought itself the vibes, it's bought itself the feeling. You look at, you know, even the way he started on Thursday already, we listen into some of the answers pretty attentively and try to sort of pick up on little clues. And I think the fact that when he was asked at some point, are you thankful to Aprilia for anything? And he's told media, I will be thankful to Massimo if we win a bunch together later. For me, that is a strong hint that there is belief, because there is no reason to pay that lip service if you do not believe it, that yes, this is not just the fulfillment of contractual obligations. This is a project you have faith in again. This is a project you have a genuine interest and focus in succeeding again, if that makes sense. If maybe I'm reading too much into it, but...
So this is, I've actually just had this thought listening to you talking, so this is me completely spitballing, but if Jorge Martin had started the season in Thailand at the first race, fully fit, with a testing program, and he'd been 7th in his first race, he'd have said, job well done. That's the start of the adaptation process, with a direct Q2, decent qualifying position, strong first result, first time racing the bike, that would have been
sensible.
All right. Mm-hmm. And instead, he's taken 6 months off while everyone else has been racing. He's given everyone else a head start of a few thousand miles on the bike. He's jumped on mid-season, not fully fit, not completely repaired, and he's done exactly what we would have expected him to do at round one.
Yes.
That is a really promising sign. And I think the fact that he's now talking about, he kind of suggested maybe race wins and then dialed it back to podiums. But the fact that that's in his head, and the fact that he did think about one thing and then dialed it back, means he is thinking about wins, regardless of what he says. That's there now. That potential is what he thinks is in the bike. It's what he thinks is in the combination of him and the bike. They've still got 11 races to work it all out, because the season is longer than time itself this year. There's a huge amount of potential left. There's absolutely going to be races where he's going to be strong. Can I say it? Yeah, we're going to see Jorge Martin win a race this year in the Aprilia.
I believe it. No, I should say, very positive note. Let's end on a slightly less positive note. My mea culpa over 26 only extends so far. Aprilia does not employ Marc Marquez, and that, my friends, is the name of the game right now.
That's the fundamental problem, isn't it? He has to race against Marc Marquez, and I don't really see a very obvious solution for anyone to beat Marc Marquez, because we saw again at the Czech Grand Prix that when he's on form, he is just very difficult to beat. Is P2 in the championship next year enough for Martin to claim success and stay at Aprilia beyond?
Good question.
I think it probably is.
Could be.
I think it is. But that's the one that decides whether or not he's a Honda rider in 27, isn't it?